you, Mario. It's very nice to be here, and thanks for, helping me through this process this evening.
I think you're going to help all of us through this process.
And thanks for coming, and congratulations to Small World for finally having their own space. And thanks for having me here year after year after year, and putting up with me. And the samosas are very good.
We haven't gotten there yet, Zakir.
The problem is we're going to talk to the people, but we're not going to see them.
Oh, don't worry. I think they're going to lit up the place. Don't worry. I think right now they want to focus on you.
Okay.
Okay, are you okay with that?
I'm okay with the GoPro on the floor.
Okay, so I want to start with your childhood. How was it growing up in Mumbai?
Oh my God. First of all, Mumbai of my childhood was, compared to Bombay of today, was pretty much a village. It was a kind of a sleepy seaside town with cottages and small, adobe kind of structures, and small lanes and little roads, and not polluted at all, fresh, pure air. It was amazing. The beaches just went for miles. The water was clean, warm, sandy bottom to swim in whenever you want, all year round. I mean, it was amazing. And cricket was played a lot on the beaches, and I was an enthusiastic participant in such gatherings. And it was a town which, you can't imagine. I mean, Goa was like that about 20 odd years ago until it became very touristy. So I have to say that it was a fabulous, fabulous place to grow up in. There was no question of them, those, they.
It was all one?
There was all us. And it was a community. And there were no neighborhoods of so-and-sos and neighborhoods of so-and-sos and neighborhoods of so-and-so. It was all a mingled, coexisting humanity in that part of the world. So it was as we all imagine our world to be now, but it isn't. So it's. I feel I'm very fortunate that I got to grow up in such a place where, the world had not yet, how should I say, injected any negative elements. Part of the reasons was that in those days, not many people had cars. There were two companies in India who made cars. One was Ambassador, which was an old British model, and the other one was the Fiat. And Fiat was allowed to make one model, and Ambassador was allowed to make one model. And they were only making maybe 1,000 cars a year, and for whole of state of Maharashtra. And so there was always a waiting list to buy those cars. So that made it really easy to bike all over or walk in the middle of the street without worrying about being hit by anything. You could go from one corner of Bombay to another in 15 minutes in a bus. It was just such a comfortable way of living, and a kind of place where you could concentrate on becoming a musician, practicing and just no worries of the world at all.
So let's talk about those first moments when you started practicing music without really knowing that you were practicing music. I read that, for instance, in some of those processions, the festivals, the street festivals, that there were many there, and some of the street performers would already know you. You were only 2 years old. They would knock on your door, say, "Where's Zakir? Bring him up. Bring him out." We
Yeah,
want him.
I was one of those money-making kind of machines.
She's not kidding.
You
She
know,
was.
when you have a little kid playing and people go, oh, how cute, and you know, and in India you have that tradition that they also have in Afghanistan or in certain other Eastern European or Russian countries, where if somebody's like really cute and good and doing something, you take a whole load of notes, currency out of your pocket, and you do this around his head, you know, and then give it to the musicians, the leader musician. Here, you know. So just offering money and stuff. So I would be playing my ass off. Sorry, pardon my French, and they'd be keeping all the money. I realized later, you know, that how to extract some of that for myself, but you know, just some tears in my eyes, and you know, the hungry look, and somebody would go, here, take this, go eat a samosa. Now I get them free in the dressing room.
It took you a long.
Yeah, but this all started way before that. I mean, first of all, I had to get to a point where I could do some messing on the drums, but first of all, when I was born, I was the fourth child of the three daughters, a son, and so I was brought home, and finally having a son meant that, you know, the blessing had to come from my father to me, and acceptance into our world had to be done by the father, and that meant that father would hold the child in his hand and whisper a prayer in his ear, so that the word of God goes in his ear, and it comes from his father, and therefore the life in the presence of the spirit that we all reside under begins. So my mother brought me from the hospital and handed me to my dad dutifully. Here's your son, now do the prayer. So he takes me in his arm. This is what I was told. I wasn't aware. And he takes me in his arm and puts his lips to my ear. And instead of saying prayers, he goes, Indian the tabla rhythms. And my mom, of course, is furious because, you know, this is not a blessing. This is some kind of blasphemy, in fact. What the hell? He's got to know about God and you know, all that stuff. But my father tells her, don't worry, it's okay. This is my prayer, he says. This is what I pray through. And these are my mantras or shlokas, and he is going to carry this on. He'll be a tabla player. So that's the mantra or prayer or the chant that I will give him. So after that, every day he would hold me in his arm and sing rhythms in my ear. So that became a routine. And so by the time I was 2 or 3 years old, I had a very confused brain. There was all this shit running around in there, and I had no clue what to do with it, you know. And I was like, stop, and you know, and then suddenly someone stuck a tabla in front of me, and you know, it's like, you know, that movie you saw, Look Who's Talking, when the child is talking, and you know, so I was like, that's what I'm supposed to be doing with this stuff in my head. And so I started playing, and then he wouldn't teach me first. I mean, it was reverse psychology. He first got all the stuff inside me, messed up my mind totally, and then he sticks a tabla in front of me and walks away. You know, it's like, you know, so I'm like, okay. And so now I wanted that attention. It was such a comforting and, you know, a hug of warmth and love and affection, and now it was gone. And I was left with all this stuff. So I had to play to get his attention. And so I found some of his students would show me a little thing. Okay, oh, you know, this is in your head. Oh, okay, do it like this. So I would do something, and he'd watch from far away on another room or something. And it went on like that for a while until I was about 7. I had already started playing in my school orchestra, and doing all that stuff. I got to play for Pope Paul, believe it or not, when he first came to India for the Eucharistic Congress. It was held in this big stadium, and they chose some young kids to do some stuff. Somebody read a poem, somebody did a dance. I was chosen from my school to play tabla.
How old were you?
Oh, I was probably 11 at that time. But anyway, so by the time I was 7, I ended up playing one of these school concerts that he came for. And then he saw me play. And then he like, okay, the reverse psychology has worked. He's hooked. So now that he saw that I was hooked, he that night at dinner, he tells me, so do you want to learn tabla? I mean, was I waiting for that question? Of course. And I immediately said, yes, I want to do this. This is what I want to do, and I'm getting his attention now. So he said, okay, tomorrow we'll start. So good. I go to bed happily thinking tomorrow I won't have to go to school. My tabla still learning will begin. That wasn't the case. At 2 o'clock in the morning, he wakes me up. And that's when my training began in earnest. At 2 o'clock in the morning, he would sit with me, and we would not play tabla. We would just talk and sing rhythms. And he would tell me stories about great masters, tell me where this composition comes from and who composed it and what was it all about and what was that person all about and where did he come from. The whole history of the huge music tree, and those were and still are some of the most cherished moments in my life, because for the next 3 or 4 years, that's what we did. Every time we would be in the city and playing a concert, he'd come home and I'd be waiting, and we'd have dinner together, and we'd start doing this. There was no question of sleeping, because this was a rejuvenating experience. It was health being given somehow. So this would go on till like 6 or so in the morning, and then my mother would wake up and after her prayers would give me breakfast, and I would get ready and go to the madrasa. And then do the Arabic prayers and stuff, since we are Muslims. And then when that was over at 8 o'clock, I'd go to school, and we'd be, herded into the church, St. Michael's High School, and then we'd sing the hymns and the psalms and the novenas and all that stuff, and then go to class. And then after the school is over, I'd come back home and then take all that information that was given to me between 2 a.m. and 6 a.m. and try to transpose it onto the instrument. And that means I was now with Goddess Saraswati, or Lord Ganesha. So I started off as a student of my teacher, my guru, at 2 a.m. Then I became a Quranic Muslim. Then I became a biblical Christian. And then I became a Vedic Hindu, all through this one long day. It was a most confused existence. But I have to say one thing. This was, until today, I haven't been able to differentiate between any of these different aspects of my day. To me, they were all one. Like I said, there were no they or them or those. It was all us. And so I think it was a great thing that I went through all that, because I did not see any difference in any of these practices. They all seemed to be saying the same thing. And so it was quite normal to be able to sing a hymn, Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Do that, to saying Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Deva Maheshwara, or to say Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, or to say Dhati Dagena Dadar Dhati Dagatena. It all seemed to be part of the same book. And so, till today, I have not been able to in any way find a way to separate these. And I think that that's a good thing. That's one great thing that Bombay of that time gave me. And it's a good thing that my father and mother felt that I should be exposed to all this as a child, it was just as important for them, for, for me, to celebrate Eid or observe Muharram as it is for me to go and to a Christmas ball and get a gift in a little picture of a Christmas tree at home, or to be given firecrackers to enjoy in Diwali. And so all those were observed at home, like as if it was, these were festivals that were part of our daily life, and it didn't matter that who we were. And that's one thing that I have to say about music in general in India or anywhere else. There are no separations, there are no boundaries, there are no boxes that each one of us live in and come out of to play music. And so having seen that among my Hindu musician friends who sing about Allah, God, because there are many masters of music in India who came through the last 600 years who were Muslim, and compositions were made in praise of Allah or Ali or anybody. And they will sing those, and great maestros of Muslim community who sang about Lord Krishna or Ganesha or Shiva. There was a great vocalist named Ustad Bade Ghulam Ali Khan, and he made a recording which became very, very famous at one time in the 60s. And it was a little bhajan called Hari Om Tat Sat. Hari is Lord Krishna. And somebody, when it was being played one day at a radio station, and he was being interviewed and said, but you know, you're a Muslim and this is Hari, Lord Krishna, how do you relate to that? And he said, as far as I'm concerned, this is the name of God. It's the name of Allah. And for me, I will treat it with same honor and respect that I would Allah, because they are the same. It's the same book. So, I mean, that in a nutshell describes artists community globally. They have no such issues. And so that's what, not just me, but all the artists, all the sons and daughters of all the artists living in India grew up in. So yes, by the time I was 3, those rhythms were all over the place. So any place I could find, I used to steal my mom's cooking pots and turn them over, and I'd be playing them, you know. So I was notorious, and when I went to school, I have to tell you, I was thrown out of class at least 4 times a week, and not thrown out. I mean, it's a Catholic school, so what happens was you were made to kneel just outside the door of the classroom, so you could look and see the board and learn still, but you had to kneel. And the reason why I was thrown out of the classroom was because they always found me banging on the benches, on the desk. I was practicing and banging, all this stuff just had to come out somewhere. So in any case, so by the time I was playing with these musicians in the festivals, all this stuff was already in there. So it came out, and did buy me a lot of lassi, carrot halwas, and the sweet that I used to love in those days was called aflatun.
Aflatun?
Yeah, it
What
was
is that?
some kind of a really lethal combination of all kinds of sweets. I mean, that you could. I mean, today if I had a little bite of that, you know, that would mean that I've dropped anchor. So yeah, I mean, those dishes were amazing. So yes, young days were. I mean, it wasn't. I mean, just as I went to play cricket, or went to see Sunday morning cartoons in a local movie theaters or anything. The most important part of the day was to be connected to the music. It was the best sport that I could imagine, or best hangout that I could imagine.
And at the same time that all of this was happening with all of the different religions and all of the different things that you were exposed to, music was not only one-sided either. Your father would come back from touring,
Oh yeah.
and he would bring all sorts of different music.
So for four, like I said, for 4 or 5 years, this nightly gatherings were happening a lot. But by the time I was 12 or so, he started traveling more extensively around the world. So those nightly gatherings became very rare. But what did happen was that he compensated for that by confusing me further. Whenever he would come back from America or something, he and Ravi Shankarji were traveling all over the world, and then he'd come back and he didn't bring me a pair of jeans or a nice leather jacket or anything like that. He brought me LPs. LPs. And so I heard Duke Ellington, I heard Miles Davis, I heard the Grateful Dead, Jefferson Starship, Quicksilver Messenger Service, Jimi Hendrix, Yusef Lateef. I heard music that I did not think existed. I mean, Indian music was my world. But he, in his mind or somewhere, he had a vision that this would come in handy. So he brought all this stuff to me, and one of those things that we in India popularly call 2-in-1. You know what 2-in-1 is?
I don't. What is it?
It's that boom box with a cassette player and a radio. So that's 2-in-1 boom box. And you see in New York in the 70s,
Yes.
the brothers were walking around that, playing real loud,
Oh yeah, I have
Yeah,
the
so
picture in my head.
I had Bombay's first boom box. and you can just imagine me at 13 or 14, the boombox right up here, and walking down the streets of Mahim, playing at distortion level, "Come On Baby Light My Fire." At distortion level, I was playing Doors, and so and people were looking at me like, "Who's this Martian? Where did he come from?" I mean, so. It was an interesting, different levels of studies. At one time, at the feet of my guru, studying the rhythms of India, Tabla and all that and everything, shlokas, mantras, ragas, everything. And then 3 years down the road, I'm walking around with a boombox and listening to Yusef Lateef on the cassette, or Miles Davis, or rock groups, Jimi Hendrix, and it was like, Wild Thing. Everything, all that stuff. So I guess I would have to thank my father for all this incredible information that he gave to me without actually saying you have to study this or study this, study this. Whenever he talked to me at 2 a.m. in the morning, he never said learn this. He just said, what a beautiful composition, and he would recite it. And then he would talk about it. And he never said, okay, now write it down or anything. But he wasn't forcing it down my throat. It wasn't that at all. It was just information to, show me, look at this beautiful, beautiful stuff, that gods are proud of. And I could see in his eyes the incredible love and affection and reverence and passion for this art form, and just to see that, and then I saw him get on stage, and suddenly he was a 7-year-old child on stage playing with an instrument that I'm sure that he was like, this is the best toy he ever had, and the best companion that he could ever be with. And to see that kind of joy emanate from him, I mean, I used to think to myself, I wish when I cross 50 that I still would love this in the way that he does, and what it does to him and makes him young again, and just to see that kind of connection. We believe in India that every instrument, I was telling you this earlier, has a spirit. And half the battle in learning the music is to be able to get that spirit to accept you. And once that spirit accepts you, then the relationship goes to a whole different level. The depth of it is unimaginable, unmeasurable. And suddenly the light comes on, the window opens, and all that you want to know from this, all you want to learn from it, all it wants to give you is just a very easy interaction. So that's why you see great masters when they go on stage, they say something like, let's see what the instrument wants to say today. Mm-hmm. It's not just the master himself. The master knows that the instrument must cooperate, or else the music will not happen the way it should. So we believe in that connection with the spirit of the instrument. And my father always used to say that I have loved this and it has loved me back. In Hindi, मैंने इससे प्यार किया है और इसने मुझसे प्यार किया है. So that was something very special. And I have always tried to find that connection. I know that at times that has happened. It's not always. And sometimes I'm sad that it hasn't happened. But that connection has made it possible for me to where I am today with my music. If I was floundering to connect with my instrument, I would still be a learning student somewhere in some room back there. Mm-hmm. But this instrument has taken me across the world. It has shown me through its eyes what is possible and how is it possible to talk this language. And because of that, not only talk this language, but how is it possible to translate this language into the language of other drummers from other parts of the world or musicians from other parts of the world. And so it's become really an incredibly fun journey and a great learning experience until today. And it will continue, I'm sure.
Of course.
I don't know if I took you off track. But
it doesn't matter. What a beautiful. Yeah, take me off track.
Yeah, that's all right. Oh, and another thing, always bring a coffee to a Q&A.
Just in case, if I make you sleepy?
Just in case,
okay.
If I make you sleepy.
I want you to tell me a story that I read.
You mean I haven't yet?
Another one. And this was, I read that because you learned English at school, you would answer.
We call it Hinglish.
Hinglish, okay. I call it Spanglish, so perfect.
Exactly.
It works. I understand that. I heard that you would
mean a
take
Star Spanglish Banner?
That's it. I heard that you used to work with your father in trying to do his correspondence.
Oh, yeah.
And then I read that one day he would say, he would receive a letter saying, they would request your father's, that your father be with them, for a certain performance of some sort. And then he would open that letter and respond, well.
Am I telling the story or you telling the story?
No, I want you to tell the story, but I want to get to this. Anyway, he would say, no, he's not available, but I know a phenomenal tabla player who can be, and it happens to be his son. And one day, when you were 12, somebody said, okay.
She is telling the story.
No. So what happened in that concert? That you had to take 2 days, a train for 2 days.
Yes.
Can you tell me that story?
You already did.
No, I didn't. That was not even the beginning of it.
Okay, my sisters went to a school which taught everything in Urdu medium. That's the language that we grew up with. So they did not speak English very well or read English very well. I was, for some reason, sent to the Catholic school. And I was the only child in the neighborhood who was sent to the Catholic school. So I mean, I not only had to decipher letters that came to our home, but all to our neighbors' home too, like electric bills, gas bills, all that stuff. So I would usually add 2 or 3 more rupees to the bill and offer to take it to the electric place to pay. In any case, so the letters would come for my father. You know, he was asked to, invited to go play concert somewhere, and they say, we are having a festival, and such artist is coming, and etc., and we would like you to come and play tabla, and we will be able to pay you so much money and your travel costs and so on, and so would you please confirm your participation. Now he was traveling a lot, and so I was left to answer the letters. So I had 2 choices. I could say, well, Ustad Al-Rakha is not available and he won't be in India for another 3 months or so on, or whatever. But I chose the other way. The other was Ustad Al-Rakha is not available to come and perform, but his son is available to play tabla. And he can come to, now look at this, a 12-year-old, what cheek, I mean, really. So 12-year-old son saying, I mean, I did not realize the enormity of this knowledge, to me it was great fun playing tabla, I was enjoying it, I was having fun with it. So that's what it was like, piece of cake. So in any way, I would send the letter, and out of 10, maybe 8 or 7 would reply saying, oh, okay, we'll be okay with his son, we need the tabla player to come, so please send his son. And then I would have to somehow gather together money, and my friends, my school friends, chums would help me with it, and a lot of stealing was done. But little stealing, a rupee here, or 50 cents there, 2 rupees there. And over the weeks arriving towards the concert travel, money would be stolen and put together and somehow gotten there. And then I would, be on a bicycle, be taken by one of the student friend to the station to get on a train. I would buy a 3rd class unreserved ticket, 12-year-old kid, going to a place like Patna, which took about 2.5 days in those days. And the train, fortunately, was in the evening, so I could pretend like I'm going to school and take my tabla, saying there's a rehearsal for the school orchestra, and somehow sneak some clothes in there in the tabla case, which was like a canvas case you could carry on your shoulder. And then after the school, just run off to the station. So I ran off to the station. This was the first time. And got on the train somehow, and I did not get a seat. And my father had taught us that this instrument has a spirit. It belongs, it's like having a spirit of God inside the instrument itself, a very sacred spirit. So it should not in any way be treated with disrespect. So people shouldn't kick it, people shouldn't throw things on it, people shouldn't, put shoes near it or anything. Any outside energy should not be. It should be treated with great respect. So not having a seat was a problem at that point. So I couldn't put it on my seat, and putting it on the floor was out of the question on those trains. So I had to, so what I did was I used to carry newspapers, and then I would put the newspaper on the floor on one side of the compartment, and then I would sit on the newspaper and I'd put the tabla in my lap. And then it sat in my lap for 2.5 days. So that nobody would sort of sit like this. And it was easy because I could just open it and practice at the same time. It was 2 in 1 again. But that was important. And so for 2.5 days we'd sit in the train, and the only time if I had to go to the loo, I would request somebody if I could put the tabla on their seat, and they would allow it. And then, so I arrived at Patna and I got off the station, and all the passengers have gone, their relatives have come and hugged them and taken them away. Me, I'm still waiting. Nobody showed up. Some people are walking about and looking here and there, and then nothing. And then suddenly one of those people who was looking here and there comes to me and says, that looks like a tabla case. And I said, yes, it is. Are you Zakir Hussain? I say, yes. And then they're certainly startled because they're expecting a grown-up son, 20 years old or something, to show up. Instead, there's this 12-year-old kid. And now they're worried because, and did you come alone? Did somebody come with you? Nobody with me, just me and my tabla. And so they're worried, and then they take me to instead of taking me to the local inn, the organizer, his name was Bipin Bihari Sinha, he took me to his home. He was really worried, and he immediately, in those days you could send a telegram, because no cell phones or internets or anything. So he sends a telegram to my home to tell my mom, don't worry, your son is here and he's with me and he's okay. In the meantime, the whole of sleepy Bombay city had been turned upside down looking for me. Wow. It was like, where is he? My mom was worried to sick, and I didn't think this through when I did. So it was a lot of excitement and tension and so on. For me, it was a great journey, going out to Patna, and so I finally was there, and I played a concert, and I arrived home. The only thing saved me was when I walked home, and I was smart. I quickly put my hand in my pocket and I handed 200 rupees to my mother. There was a lot of money in those days. I think Sinha knew that I had to be saved. So rather than just giving me 100 rupees plus the travel, he gave me 200 rupees plus the travel. And so those 200 rupees went a long way to soothe my mother's anger and help me out. But then after that, slowly, she agreed to send me to concerts, but only in Bombay, with one of the students accompanying me, making sure that I was all right. And slowly it expanded to a place like Pune, which was just a 4-hour train ride away, or Nasik and Ahmedabad and Baroda and stuff. And by the time I was 16, I was then traveling all over the country, and she'd gotten used to me being, a traveler. But all this would not have been possible without Dr. Sharma. I'm not talking about Shiv Kumar Sharma, the santoor player. I'm talking about my Hindi professor or teacher in the school. His name was Sharma. And he loved music. And he was a big fan of my father, and so therefore knew who I was. And so he made I didn't know how to do all this stuff. My mother didn't know how to do all this. But he made an arrangement with the principal of the school that he'll be responsible to make sure that I do all my work, all my school work, everything that needed to be done, homeworks and everything and so on, and I'd be prepared for my tests and my exams. And I should be allowed to not have to attend physically the school. He got me that permission, so I could go to other cities and go play concerts. And I'd bring my books with me, and in the train I'd do my assignments and everything, and homework and study and math and all. So it was through his help that I was able to scrape through to my graduation in high school and into college. If not for Dr. Sharma, that would not have been possible. So that's
fantastic. Fantastic. Well, so that was around between 12 and then, of course, you said until 17. And then at 18, you went with your father touring.
Actually,
was it 18 or 19?
Actually, no, I didn't go with my father touring first. When I was 17, I went to Iran as part of the Indian music delegation sent by the government there. So I did that first. Then I went to Russia with another part of the Indian delegation, and Afghanistan. In those days, Indian government was sending out, what should I say?
Musical ambassadors?
Musical ambassadors to establish something or other. Independence was only about 20 years ago, and so they were trying to, get some kind of thing established. So the art and culture was being put forth. We did not have any industries. We did not have any real production, you know, and hadn't yet come to terms with the art economy. So art and culture was the only thing that we could share with the world. So cultural delegations were sent out. So I did that first. But no, my father was already traveling when I was asked by Ashish Khan, Ali Akbar Khan, the great maestro's son, to go with him on tour to Europe. So that was my first real look to the West. And I arrived in Europe to play with him. And while we were playing concerts, and I remember it was Munich, where I received a call from Ravi Shankarji. And he said, Zakir, and I said, yes, uncle. I used to call him uncle. And he said, I have concerts in America, 4 or 5 concerts coming up next week. Your dad is not feeling well. He has a flu or something, so he's not going to be able to travel. So you go to the American embassy, get a visa, get on a flight, and come to New York, and you have to play these concerts. So that's what I was told. And in those days, like I said, the world was still not them, those, and they. It was all us. So a young kid like me could walk into an American embassy, which was everywhere, without security, walk in, present my passport, without tickets or any letter of introductions or anything, and say, I would like a visa to go to the United States. And he'd look at me, smile, and say, wait a minute. And he'd go in, come back 10 minutes later with a visa stamped on my passport, hand it to me, and I could walk straight to the airport from there and get on a flight. So it was that easy, not anymore. But anyway, so I took that flight. I went, got the visa, and then the flight was arranged for me to go from Munich to London, and then London to New York. So I arrived in London, got on a Japan Airlines flight to go from London to New York. And 2 hours into the journey, the flight developed some technical issues, so they turned around, came back, landed in London. And then I was in London, and they were trying to figure out what to do with me. By the time they finally did find me a flight, I think it was Pan Am or something, no, TWA. I landed in New York, and that flight was very late, so it arrived late. In the meantime, the promoters of the concert had no clue which flight I was coming on to New York, so there was nobody at Kennedy Airport to meet me. And I got out, and I didn't know where to go, what to do. Somebody said, there's this Cary bus service, and it costs $4, and it'll bring you to Manhattan. And I said, okay. So I got on the Cary bus, $4. I arrived in Midtown Terminal, which is on 34th Street or something. There was a bus terminal there where Cary took you. So I got there, and I was in the bus terminal. Now what to do? It was like 1 a.m. in the morning. I had nowhere to go. And offices were closed, so I couldn't call them. I had no number. So I sat down, and I was very afraid, because that's really the first time that I closely saw a brother. With a huge mop and, all that stuff. And I was quite afraid. Didn't quite know what to do, so I sat like this. And I think I must have fallen asleep in the seat I was sitting in the Midtown Terminal. And suddenly I was, woken up, and I looked, and the brother was looking at me like this, and I was like worried, and he said, here. And he handed me a cup of coffee and a doormat. Just out of the blue. That was New York of then. It's amazing. So I had my coffee and donut, and after about 2-3 hours, it was 9:30 or so, and I called the office, and they were worried sick where I was, and suddenly, wait, somebody's coming to get you. So then, it used to be a man called Basil Douglas, no, not Basil Douglas, J.K. Hoffman. J.K. Hoffman was the manager of Pandit Ravi Shankar. So there's somebody's come to get you, and then somebody, after about 50 minutes or so, somebody ran in, saw me, photo, yes. Okay, it's you, all right, come. So I go out, and suddenly it's a stretch limo. Spending the night in the bus terminal, coming out, stretch limo. I get into the stretch limo, I'm driven to the Plaza Hotel.
Wow.
Bus terminal night, straight to the Plaza Hotel, go up, beautiful room. I arrive in the room and I put my stuff. 5 minutes, knock, 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 knock. I open the door. It's Ravi Shankarji, uncle, and I touch his feet. And he said, good, I'm glad you're okay. We were all worried and everything. Anyway, so rest now, order some breakfast, whatever you want, and rest. And here, so he hands me a piece of paper, just like that. And on the piece of paper, he had drawn vertical lines and horizontal lines. And it said 10 a.m., 11 a.m., 12, 1 p.m., 2 p.m., all the way up till 9 p.m. And under each, there was written numbers, 11, 13, 7, 5. And then under those, under 7, it said, I love Lucy. Under 5, it says Mod Squad. Under 2, it said Mission Impossible or something. I don't know what it was. But anyway, so he had listed all the shows that he thought I should watch on television. I'm not kidding. This actually happened. And he described to me that, okay, look, this 11 is channel 11, and at 10 o'clock, in 5 minutes or so, you'll be able to turn it on and watch this show called I Love Lucy. You should watch it. And ran me through the whole day's, channels and everything. He's known for this. He finished his UN concert. Don't tell anyone. His UN concert 18 minutes early, because he needed to get to the hotel to see the finale of the season of Mod Squad. This is not a joke, this is serious stuff, I'm telling you.
Oh my goodness.
So this is, from Midtown Terminal, night at the bus station with the brother and all that. And then stretch limo and plaza. It was too much to take, I'm telling you. But it didn't end there. Anyway, so I had a day's rest and everything. The next day was the concert in New York. So we arrive at the concert and it's dark like this. I can't see anybody. Now in India, concert halls are lit. You see the people and you say hello, hi, how are you? Good, you come, see you later, okay? All that stuff. So anyway, dark, but there are these little lights, very small pin-like lights, and there's an incredible smell and smoke. It was a theater called Fillmore East, and it was packed with people all holding incense, burning incense. Since then, I've stopped using incense. I'm telling you, it's difficult to get used to 2,000 incenses burning at the same time. I'm still washing it out of my clothes. But anyway, that was tough. And so anyway, we played that concert, and then we had 3 days off. And Ravi Shankarji was hell bent on giving me American culture, view
Right away.
Yeah, so he arranged for me to go see a musical, which was great. What is a musical? It's a theater, you'll enjoy it. Okay, so I go, and I'm given a ticket. Car drops me in Broadway, some theater it was, and I walk in, and I go sit down in my seat, and after a while, the curtain opens and the actors come out, and they're fine, they're saying some lines, and next thing I know, they all undress. It was old Calcutta. I don't know what possessed him to send me there. An innocent 18-year-old child, a virgin.
And he never left the US after that.
So anyway, he sends me to see old Calcutta, American culture. I mean, come on. Really. So anyway, so I saw that, and I went back, and then he asked me, "Did you enjoy it?" I didn't know what to say to him. It was like already turning red. In any case, so most of the time I was like this.
What is this?
Is anybody watching me watching this? Any Indians in the audience? In any case, so that was the first thing. But the next day, he redeemed himself. He sent me to another musical. And this musical I really loved. It was beautiful. The music was fabulous. It was called Fiddler on the Roof, with Tupou, one of the original great actor, and played by Zero Mostel. It was fabulous. It was it was a great introduction to two sides of the coin of what musical theater in America is all about, and then I studied. I played with him for a while, and then I thought I was going to get ready to go home to India.
And then something happened.
I had run out of clothes to wear. We were all dirty and everything. And in India, we're so used to dropping our clothes on the floor, and mom picks it up and gives it to the maid to wash it. We don't have to worry about it. And I learned the hard way when my wife made me wash my own clothes. So anyway, so clothes were running out. I thought I was going back, but I didn't have any clue what was going on. But Ravi Shankar ji had other ideas, and he arranged with Ashish Khan for me to be an assistant teacher in the ethnomusicology department in the University of Washington, Seattle. And I ended up there. So me, who came to America thinking that I'll stay about 10 days and go back, ended up staying a year and a half before I went back home. And it was interesting time. I learned a lot.
Fantastic. Well, I want to hear more about that. But first, samosas are waiting outside for us.
Oh, samosas. You guys should eat some samosas.
Yes, and drink some wine. And in about 15 minutes, we're going to come back and talk to this wonderful man. Thank you so much.
Send your good wishes. And a happy journey blessing to one of our dearest colleague and a great divine musician, Maestro U. Srinivas, the mandolin Vidwan. And please, he just passed away, and it's a loss that is difficult for us to understand and live with. But, giving a minute's silence doesn't really mean anything to me. It means that after the minute you forget the person. No, so somewhere in your mind, not now, maybe at home, maybe somewhere, if you think of him, just bless his journey onwards. Wish him best of luck. Thank you.
What if we honor him by you telling us some stories about you and him in Shakti?
Oh my God, Shakti. Well, first of all, I don't know if I can tell you anything about Shakti and him and us. He was, I guess the best way I can describe what might have been our relationship in Shakti is to tell you what Srinivas, in my opinion, was about. I feel that he was not of this world. I'm sure he also knew that he was just passing through. He was too shy, too humble, too honest, too pure to have been of this house that we live in this world. So maybe when he was born, there was a star somewhere shining brightly on the dwelling where he was born, in that small house in Andhra somewhere. And wise men came to be blessed and to see divinity arrive on this earth. That kind of a being, at the time of his birth, and being exactly that at the time of his passing, is something that you do not see in this world. So having him with us in some ways made us come to attention within ourselves, made us take a step back, made us think how we would speak, how we would act, made us realize the sacredness of this art form. His presence always reminded me, at least, of what my father used to say, that he is the worshipper of Saraswati. When he played, you felt that that presence was around us. And it's impossible to imagine a young kid. When I saw him, I think maybe he was 12 years old, and he was playing like a god. He was doing things that would seem to be impossible for a young kid to do, with greatest of ease and with the nonchalance of Lord Krishna playing his flute, knowing exactly the kind of effect it would have on his followers, on everybody who worshipped him, but with a nonchalance that he didn't really, have that kind of understanding of the effect that he was having. So Srinivas was like that. We were always on our toes with him. We were always like, oh Sriniji, what would you like to eat? Sriniji, what would you like to drink? Sriniji this, Sriniji that, Sriniji this, Sriniji that. And he was the young wee man compared to us. But somehow it felt right to treat him like somebody of stature right there. And it didn't come from him because he did not understand stature. He did not understand being worshipped or loved and honored. It was like, what am I doing? Is something simple, is something normal. It was like that. So that's Srinivas. But in the short span of time, he achieved an incredible amount. What I feel bad about was that just when we were getting to know the immense depth of his music, of his ability, of his control of or knowledge of the art, he was taken away, and that's something I find very difficult to understand.
Very sad.
So,
It's sad.
yeah, and that's it. He was only 45 years old, but he played like he was 1,000 years old. And so, anyway, so that's Mandolin Srinivas, one of the great musicians of our time, and a great friend of brothers. So tomorrow's concert also is dedicated to him, and so just think of him and give him a best for his journey onwards. And we hope that the spirit will come back soon, maybe as a tabla.
Okay, well, thank you for that. We're going to ask you now if you have any questions for Zakir. Anybody? Yes, Mary. Mary Weens here from CBC.
I shouldn't jump in. I'm another CBC person. But you talked about how when you were a child you didn't know the enormity of the.
May I do one thing?
Yes.
Would there be somebody who would hold on to this, and somebody who will turn this on and pass it around so that everybody can hear what the question is?
I can do that. Thank you. The question, you said something about the not understanding the enormity of the music that you offered to play at the age of 12. Tell me about a moment when you had one of those pieces of music, an experience that you had many years later of a piece that you played at the age of 12. Is there a moment like that where you suddenly realized something more about a raja, something where it deepened, your understanding of it deepened?
I remember that there was, I think I was 24 or 25 years old, and I was playing with this. I was asked to be the fourth in a not a bridge game but in a concert. The three were Ravi Shankarji, Ali Akbar Khan, his brother-in-law, and one of the greatest instrumentalists ever in India, my father, Alaraka, those three, and the fourth was me. And this was a concert at Carnegie Hall. And I remember thinking, what the hell am I doing with these three giants of music? I'm 20-some years old. These are great maestros. They are worshipped and revered and loved and honored, and I'm a young punk. You know, it suddenly dawned on me that I was, you know, totally out of my depth. And I got on the stage and I thought, okay, well, I'll remember these. I remember these little pieces that I had, you know, grown up with. And I thought, okay, I'll just stick to playing this and just doing that. And I sat on the stage at Carnegie Hall, and then they all started playing, and my father joined in. And then after a little while, he looked at me, and it was a simple rhythm cycle, 4/4, and you know, I've been playing it day in and day out for years. And I started to go into the same pieces that I had learned in those days. In those days I had my packages. The whole point was to unveil package 1, package 2, package 3, package 4 at different opportune time, and all designed to be able to make the audience go, you know, show stuff, do stuff until they clap and things like that. And I started on my package number 1, and suddenly, like in the second cycle of the rhythm, my mind went blank. 4/4 cycle, my mind goes blank. I could not think of what I'm supposed to do next. I had no clue what was going to be the way to resolve this and come back to the downbeat so that, you know, the others can take on and go on. And I was like panicked. And I had that probably a panic expression on my face. And my father looked at me, and that's the only time he really bailed me out. And he jumped in and started something in the similar mold, and started one of those cadences that finishes the pattern, and I was able to suddenly wake up and join him because he'd shown the way and finish. After that, there was a period of 2 or 3 years where there was no production. I was totally stale. I could not think of enhancing my ability as a tabla player. I could not think of things to do. It was autopilot. I'd play concerts and I was like repeating myself all the time. I was not able to make up new stuff. It suddenly went blank. You know, it's like, you know, people go through periods where the production is down, you know, and you're not able to. And in our music, that's dangerous because 80% of the time you're improvising. So that means thinking on your toes right there and being very spontaneous with your playing. And if you really can't do that and think of things to do, you're in deep doo-doo. And so for the next 2 or 3 years, I believe I was in that deep doo-doo. And I had no clue what to do. So I went away to our ancestral village of our gurus, my father's guru. And I did my second, what we call chilla. Chilla is something which is called coming of age. Coming of age means that you know how it is, a Native American Indian would have to climb a mountain, find an eagle's nest, get a feather, or kill a bull or something to prove that he's grown, he's a man. Chillas are those. You are now a man of music. So from childhood to growing up. So I had done one earlier when I was 16 or something, and this one. And I went away and I retreated. And in that you are for 40 days. It's very biblical. For 40 days you're by yourself. You're in this mud hut, and you fend for yourself, you cook for yourself, or you do whatever you do to survive, and 18 hours a day, you're with your music, you're with your instrument. So I had felt that my spirit had kind of lost some faith in me. Maybe I'd become too cocky and was not paying enough attention. So I needed to go back, retreat, and reestablish that connection, beg for forgiveness, whatever it was. And so I took my instrument and I did that for 40 days by myself. And when you are constantly hearing a certain frequency and it's like monotonous, like a drone or a mantra, somewhere along the line you fall so much into it that you start seeing things, you start imagining what's happening. It affects you in a very interesting way, and the more your experience being on the negative end, it can harm you, and that can happen. But I saw some things in my mind. I think I saw a sage-like figure. I saw that figure telling me things and showing me some ways through certain patterns and stuff. I imagined that was the spirit of the tabla. But to finish the story, I came out of that with a whole different outlook to the music. I dispensed with my packages. I totally dispensed with my packages of trying, in my own cocky way, trying to impress the audience. Instead, I relied and trusted my connection with my instrument to be able to give to me what I needed at that moment to share with the people. So whatever I had done till then was there somewhere, but to use it in the way the Spirit wanted me to use it became more important than for me to be able to play it for the audience the way I felt I should, to impress the hell out of them. So
thank you. Thank you. What a lovely story. I could ask questions as Marielle could all night long. Does somebody else, can I bring the mic to somebody else?
That's fantastic. Thank you, Mary, for that question. It was beautiful.
Change your microphone on me.
I did.
Yours is a nice, sleek-looking one.
You want me to give
and
you
I got
mine?
this big, chunky, whatever it is.
Because I'm the sleek one here, see?
You sure is. Black is black.
Hi, Zakir.
Hi.
I just wondered if you had any tips for like somebody that wants to get into music kind of late in the game. Like I'm 46. And I feel like
a wee bairn you are.
I feel like I'm a musician, but I've never really, become a musician.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I've been
What's stopping you?
Working in an office my whole life. But,
Oh, that's stopping you.
like, is just a mental switch that you have to turn on to say, okay, I'm going to become a musician now, or?
What are you doing here? Why did you decide to come?
Because
I'm asking you a question.
Yeah, because I love music and I wanted to maybe learn what you had to say tonight.
Do you play an instrument or?
Yeah, I play guitar and sing.
Okay, you play the guitar and you
Yeah.
sing. Okay, and you do that sort of regularly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like
So
once a week I'll.
and in your mind there's a certain attachment to this art form,
Mhm.
or to art form generally speaking,
Yes.
that has this urge inside of you to be able to find, to explore, to look for and collect, right? Gems that you could utilize.
Yes.
That is love of music. That is being a musician. That is being a creative artist. That's what Yehudi Menuhin did when he went to India and found Ravi Shankar and Ali Akbar Khan and invited them to come to this world and introduce them. That's what Bela Fleck did. That's what Mickey Hart did when he went to meet my father and told him to come and teach him rhythms. This urge to need to know, to want to find out, at least in the creative world, it means that there is a musician inside of you, that it does exist. There are creative germs inside of you. They do exist, and they want to be able to be acknowledged. And like I said, spirit of the instrument. Have you talked to your guitar?
I had it blessed once, but
You had it blessed once by somebody else. Did you bless it yourself?
no.
No. Did you talk to your guitar? No. Did you tenderly hold it, hug it? I mean, it may sound stupid. It may sound very silly, but it is a being. I mean, it doesn't matter. You know, it's made by Gibson or not. It is a being. It is a reflection of you. That guitar is going to be you. That instrument is going to be you. If you are not able to be you, then what's the point of that? So stop talking and start speaking through your guitar. Say what you will. It doesn't matter how silly it is. You know, speak that language. That's what tabla is. Tabla, the reason why tabla is such an interesting instrument, is it has such allure to it, is because when you play tabla, you're not just playing you're speaking a language. You're talking. It has a language which has grammar in it, but it becomes a person. You know, if I'm saying you can't do that with you can't do it with that. But you can do it with tabla language, like as if you're speaking. That's what it is. Just like I learned to speak English. The only way I can interact with my instrument and put it out there in a improvised form, in a great amount of spontaneity to it, is if I speak the language. So all I'm doing is speaking tabla when I play tabla. I'm forming sentences, I'm forming paragraphs and whatnot, and expressing that. That's what you need to do, is speak through your instrument. And it's not that difficult to do. You know, it's easy for us to do A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, L, M, N, O, P, S. It's not that difficult to do. M, I, C, K, E, Y, M, O, U, S, C. So it's not difficult to do. No matter how silly it is, do it. Your instrument demands that you humble yourself so that you can look inside yourself and really see who you are, as opposed to who you want to be for your neighbor. Okay?
Thank you so much. Thank you for the question too, because I think that can actually be applied to so many different things, right? Many of us that have have that to-do list that we haven't gotten to. Okay, one more
Tomorrow
question.
I am changing my name to Yogi Sadhu Zakir. Yes.
Yes.
There's one question here. Yeah.
Hello, Zakir sir.
How are you, Zakir sir? You see that sir's coming here.
It's just that I'm a big fan of yours, so.
You don't look that big.
I'm not big, but I'm a big fan. I just appreciate your music so much. I have a typical Indian type of question. As an Indian kid, you're not usually allowed to pursue music. Usually not allowed to pursue music. But my dad is a musician. I was grown up in Hyderabad, Andhra. And I recently moved like 4 or 5 years ago to Canada. And I want to be a Bollywood singer.
You want to be a Bollywood singer?
I want to be a Bollywood singer.
Is there a Canada wood? Canada wood?
So,
Conwood. And I mean, is there a Bollywood version of Bollywood here in Canada at all? I'm just inquiring.
The Bollywood, yeah.
Yes, I mean,
Bollywood
you guys
here
get
is
together.
really popular. Yeah, many people
okay.
come here. Yeah.
Carry on. Sorry.
So, I don't know what degree I want to do. Do I have to take a backup degree as a business degree, or do I really want to go to Berklee College of Music and do a composition degree or a film scoring degree?
Okay.
But I have that insecure kind of feeling in me. Am I gonna? Do I need something to fall back on? or do I just
Doesn't that
pursue
sound
music?
like that's your community talking? Your parents talking?
Not my parents actually.
It's
My
all-
parents support me.
Your
a lot.
it's like, okay, you know, Aarti Anklikar was a great singer, is a great singer from Maharashtra, and she started off with an incredible spark. She sang in Savai Gandharv festival, and everybody was floored. And from there on, Aarti Anklikar was the next Kishori Amonkar, and she was singing fabulously and doing great, and started to get great concerts. Boom, 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 boom. Next thing you know, her parents, because I mean, you know, it's what the society wants, and it's great to have a backup, got her married. And next thing you know, her progress, which was meteoric up that point, was derailed for some years. And because it was derailed, maybe her ambition died, maybe her spark inside her dimmed a bit, and she's never been the same since then. She's still a great singer, but she's never been the same. So you must follow your heart, which is what Kishori Amonkar did, and she is great, and still is. She put her music before everything else. She put the seva of her guru, her mother, and the seva of music of prime importance to her. Okay. Having said that, before you get to that point, first you must find out if you have any attributes to be a singer. If you have what it takes. You may think that you do, your friend circle around you may think you do, maybe your parents may think that you do, but I have to tell you, there are 5,000 really, really, really good singers taking buses and trains and auto rickshaws to a zillion auditions in India, in Bombay, right now, and have done it for years without getting a chance to be able to sing for someone. And they are very good. And they are eking out a living, maybe doing a small, a neighborhood festival concert or something, singing with a little group or something, and like that. They're doing that. They haven't reached where they started off thinking they would go. And they are very good. And it's sad to see that there's so many, it's like when you have 5,000 diamonds of equal quality in a bowl, they kind of lose their value collectively. But if you only had one, everybody wants it. Okay, so now there's that. Ranjit Parot, he's a great drummer from India, and very, very fine jazz drummer. He, about 25, 26 years ago, came to America to live in New York, and he said, I'm going to make it as a jazz drummer. That's what I want to do. I want to be a jazz drummer. So he came and lived in New York. Now in India, he was loved as a drummer, and many concerts, lots of money to be made, everything in studios, playing for Lakshmi Pyare, playing for R.D. Burman, everybody. He arrives in New York, he gave up all that, follows his heart, and he arrived here. And he's good, very good. But again, there were 5,000 equally good drummers in New York, and he was just one of them. In India, he was one of one of that quality. He was wanted, revered, loved, and honored. Here in New York, he had to struggle. He had to somehow find ways to be able to make ends meet. And he was a good player. And eventually he packed up his bags and went back to India and had to start all over again from scratch in India to establish himself. The whole thing is, when he went back to India and he came in contact with all of the Indian musicians and all of us, because his mother is a classical dancer, and through her and everything, and he incorporated all that information into his drumming, and suddenly he became a very unique drummer, a drummer who had information that the drummers in this part of the world didn't have. He was great at jazz, and then he could add this other flavor to it. Next thing you know, John McLaughlin hired him to play in his band, Fourth Dimension. And now he is playing all over Europe and everywhere with all sorts of jazz musicians and being booked and gigged. So here's another story of having a rebirth, but simply because he incorporated something different inside him. What I'm trying to say to you is, you want to be a Bollywood singer. There's 5,000 Bollywood singers. The only way you can be is because, one, you will have the attribute, the talent, the hard work needed to get to that point, and something unique to offer that you have. Nusrat Fateh Ali had that. His nephew Rahat Ali had that voice that everybody wanted. And then people started to copy that. Muhammad Rafi had that. Then everybody started to copy him. Kishore Kumar, everybody started to copy him. Those unique voices, those unique sounds, if you don't have that, there's no point in it. Here, you might have an identity as a singer of note, and you might be playing and performing and doing things as one of the few good ones around. There, you might be lost in the crowd. There's something to think about here.
Just want to add a point. I've sung for the Telugu industry recently.
That's good.
Yeah, so I got into the industry,
Mm-hmm.
but I want to last longer in the industry. I just don't want to be there, sing few songs, and just end my career there. Right?
But it only takes a few songs. Actually, it takes only one song. If your one song is a hit, everybody wants you to come and sing. If your one song is not a hit, you are very easily and quickly forgotten. This is the stark, bitter truth. So if you sung for a Telugu film, and if it hasn't made it, it hasn't made it. You have to sit and wait. Maybe someone else will see you sing here in Canada, and will say, hey, maybe I should give this guy a little hit, you know, and maybe suddenly you will have a hit song, and next thing you know, boom, you know, it's done. But know that there are certain things that you need to have. Just because you sang, it, you know, I also played a zillion concerts before I actually really started playing. Like I said, that blank period, I think the second part of my life, starting after that blank period, is really the part that got me into shape where I needed to be. So maybe you're going through that blank period, but maybe, you know, if you really believe in it, then keep at it. But being an artist is the same as being a doctor or engineer. You have to put in the same amount of work. So for you to be able to think that I'll put in hard work into music and then hard work into being a analyst, computer analyst, or whatever it is taking on a lot, and I don't know if that's going to work for you. There are some rare animals who've done that. Buddhaditya Mukherjee is a great sitar player. He's also an engineer of some sort, and very good at it. Arvind Parekh is a fine sitar player and also heading a shipping company business worth 2,000 crores or something or whatever. So there are some Brij Bhushan Kabra, a great guitar player who's also in textile business. So there are people who have done this. Dr. Subramaniam is a doctor and a great violin player. So, but not everybody has that ability to be able to run parallel careers. Or even these people that I name, their main concentration is in the music. And all that other stuff, they just kind of look into, and there are a zillion assistants who make sure that things are taken care of day to day. So yes, there are these bitter things to think about and whatnot. So you know, you're the king here. You might be
one of the
just a nobody there.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Thank you. Thank you for the question. One more?
One more and one more.
Two in the same row, I don't know if we allow that. Is it one of the rules?
Oops, he noticed.
बहुत धन्यवाद.
Dhanyavad to you too.
Assalamu alaikum, Zakir. Namaskar.
Welcome to you also, namaskar.
Thank you. Zakir, my name's Andrew McPherson.
That's your problem.
Yeah, okay. I'm dealing with it. And my question is going to take the form of an invitation.
Okay.
I'm a student at Emmanuel College, University of Toronto,
Uh-huh.
and I'm in the Masters of Divinity program.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to do a first. in January 2015. We're going to be celebrating Molad al-Nabi, the Prophet's birthday, and we will never be able to afford your fee, not now, a million years from now, but we're trying to find out, inshallah, if it's possible, if you'd want to come and play. Now, I'm assuming you'd be too busy, but right now I'm throwing a Hail Mary pass. I have all the details of the event here and contact info. So, if you're interested in a first, yeah, it's
Hey, that's my name on it.
yeah, it's for you. It's for you. I had the revelation last night, as crazy it sounds, that the voice said, ask Zakir tomorrow.
Oh.
Right during the question
I thought you were
period.
going to say, voice said, fly me to the moon.
Well, you know, if you come, and we will fly to the
The
moon
problem
together.
is, if I come, I'll have to ski from the airport to the concert in January, and I don't ski.
I'll solve the problem. So that's...
Okay, let me tell you about something that I do in January. December, Jan, and Feb. These 3 months are very busy music festival months in India. And all us musicians, whoever are traveling all over the world, we all migrate south to India and play a zillion concerts in that time zone. Now it depends on when in January, because the early part of January I'm usually in California. After that I go back to India, and then I don't return till early March. It's too cold.
I have a warm coat for you.
I have a warm coat too. Like two Decembers ago, I spent Christmas in Aspen. Yeah, I did not go skiing. I went sledging and I did all that stuff, and I have all that, what you call warm coats and stuff, and I haven't seen them since, but they are in the house somewhere. But this is what I'm telling you now, is the commitments are for concerts in India. If it's early January, I'm in California at that time, because I spend Christmas and New Year at home with family. It's always the routine. So I go early December to India and spend 2 weeks there in the music season. Then I come home for Christmas and New Year, and then I return back to complete the music season. So if it's in that time period, I don't know what time it is it, I most certainly wouldn't mind taking Air Canada to Toronto and then on to India.
That's wonderful.
Then you're both.
And you don't have to pay my fee or anything for that, you know. I mean, you know, I've got a death wish coming to a winter country like Toronto.
Okay, so one more question.
I'm not taking any questions.
Really? My question is, first of all, I just want to say it's such an honor to be here and listening to you speak and tell these stories.
You're just saying that.
No, it's true. What you said about Srinivas is going to ring in my ears for a long time. Very beautiful.
Thank you.
My question is, one of the amazing things about music is that it's constantly evolving. It's never really static. It never stops. And Tabla has evolved and changed over its lifetime, and I guess my question for all the Tabla nerds in the house is, where do you see Tabla going, or where would you like to see Tabla going? You can pick.
It's going to a concert in Markham tomorrow.
I was hoping he said he's going to play right now.
That was going to be my double.
I know.
Wait a minute, there's a question here. It has to be.
Go on, I tried.
Well, just you've been a huge part of the evolution of Tabla. You've been on the front burning edge of it since you started playing, and I think you're probably the best person to answer the question. Where do you see? Where is your vision cast ahead of where you are now? Where is Tabla going?
Well, I feel just like Keith Jarrett, the great jazz pianist, felt when he was asked a question. Mr. Jarrett, if you were not playing the piano, which instrument would you be playing? And he said, I would be playing tabla. And they just looked at him strange, like, what's wrong with you? Why tabla? It's a drum instrument. And he said, tabla is not just a rhythm instrument, in my opinion, that's his opinion. He said, that it's the most complete instrument that he has seen. Now, why did he say that? Now, tabla, unlike many other drums, has retention of tone, has resonance. It can be tuned to a regular pitch of the piano or any other instrument, a tonic pitch. It has harmonics, and then on the bass drum you can also play all the 7 notes. So it not only acts as a rhythm element, but also can provide supporting melodic harmonic possibilities. So that to have something like a drum and a bass in one instrument, it's a very interesting thing that can happen. Now this aspect of tabla is only just being discovered. And tabla is not a very old instrument, it's only about 300 years old compared to thousands of year old history of Indian music. So it's finding its way in this tradition. There's like 1,000 year of rhythm repertoire of the old instrument, pakawaj, a cylindrical instrument, which has yet to be transposed onto the tabla. It's just sitting. So tabla has that many hundreds and hundreds of years of repertoire still to adopt. So that hasn't yet happened. So I cannot even imagine what would happen when the repertoire expands like that. So that's something to look in the future and be happy about, that there is a lot more that the instrument will do. Having said that, the tabla makers are finding new ways to make the instrument sound better and better, to stand up to weather barrage better and better. Certain electronic inventions are helping to enhance the ability of the tabla in the electronic world. So that's happening. So when you put all of these little things together, you see that the instrument, which is still in its infancy, I must say, and already an established and repertoired instrument, has all these layers still to be explored in depth. So I see that in the future the tabla will not, I think the tabla is fast going there, and it's probably going to arrive very soon to be an instrument which will not be just an Indian instrument. It will be a global instrument, just like the drum set, just like bongos or congos. Everybody in the world knows those instruments. Everybody has one or two of them, like the guitar. Everybody has the guitar or a flute or something. Tabla is going to be an instrument that will become an instrument of choice naturally in all parts of the world. And I see that to be happening. It's already happening a lot. I go to Japan or Korea or Indonesia or Philippines, and then to South America and various other places, far off place like Saskatoon, and you see tabla everywhere. You open up your television and suddenly there's a show coming on and you hear tabla. A movie score and some crazy man is coming with a dagger and you hear tabla. Insulting, but it's there. Tabla. So, tabla, I've just been given a commission by National Symphony Orchestra, which is the Kennedy Center Orchestra, to write a tabla concerto. Now, for them to even think that this is possible, somewhere along the line, tabla must have appeared to them as an instrument next in line to be a universal rhythm instrument or instrument of some kind of, stature. So I'm writing that tabla concerto, which will be premiered at the Wolf Trap summer of 2016. Before that, in 2016 January, it will be premiered in Switzerland with the Basel Symphony Orchestra playing in Basel, Zurich, and St. Gallen, whatever, some place. And also in India. We have a symphony orchestra in India as well. So, so tabla is everywhere. Tabla players are everywhere. Tabla players are fast becoming very famous composers, I have to say. R.D. Burman was a tabla player. I don't know if anybody knew that Bhappi Lahiri was a tabla player. Wow. He's a tabla player. I didn't know if anybody knew that. Ustad Allah Rakha was a tabla player, but a great film composer as also. And so, I mean, it's amazing that that's happening with tabla. And like violin was adopted by India as an instrument best representing South Indian music of now, South Indian classical music now. Tabla will be adopted as one of the best instruments to be the rhythmic element in any form of music anywhere in the world.
Fantastic.
Masters of that time, young masters like Ustad Tirakwa Khan Sahab, Maseed Khan Sahab, Khalifa Wajid Hussain, various Kante Maharaj Ji. These were people who found a way to be able to take the old repertoire and not only transpose it onto the tabla, but played it with such incredible technique that they became so popular that that these names were asked to come and play solo in front of the Maharajas and the Nawabs, solo repertoire. So these were some of the first tabla players who started to play a bit of a solo concert in front of the Nawabs, and many compositions emerged. So from there the tabla started to gain, but real popularity came to it when the trinity of tabla arrived in their full, appearance in India. And that trinity is Ustad Allah Rakha, Pandit Samta Prasad Ji, and Pandit Kishan Maharaj. Three tabla players of great magical powers and technique. And these three were such tabla players that the audiences actually used to come to see them play. And when there was a concert announced of, say, Ustad Vilayat Khan Sahab is going to play, the first question the audience would ask is, who is going to play tabla? So if it was one of these three, the tickets would go like hotcakes because they knew it would be an incredible show. So these three tabla players actually were the first superstars of tabla and brought the tabla to fore. Before these three came, the tabla player's name was not even mentioned on the ads in those days. When you see old records, you don't even know who's playing tabla. It was never mentioned. It just didn't matter. And when these people came, the companies had to put their names on the record because it would sell records. And so suddenly tabla players came to the fore. They were being feted and loved and revered, and audiences wanted to come and see them. So these three actually developed a whole repertoire of tabla solo and were the first real tabla solo players after Tirakwa Khan Sahab, Habibuddin Khan Sahab, Khalifa Wajid Hussain, Maseed Khan Sahab, Munir Khan Sahab, these older generation. The modern, tabla maestros were these three. And they paved the way for people like me to be able to be accepted on an equal term as a tabla player by a company. So, sitar player would fly to Kolkata from Bombay to play a concert. Tabla player had to take a train. Nobody was willing to pay a ticket for a tabla player to get on a plane. But when these guys play, yes. So that's where tabla is now. And right now, it's here on the stage.
And I'm going to leave you with
normally tabla is not played with a high-pitched tabla, solo tabla. But because I'm playing with these two fabulous musicians tomorrow whose instruments are tuned, the tonic is E, that's very high E, high above the middle C, that is. So I have a high tuned tabla, which is E. No, thank you. So, as I said, tabla is a young instrument and it's still finding its way. But what's interesting about it is that it has a large dynamic graph. There was some resonance somewhere. So large dynamic graph. And there it is again. Okay. So you could play one finger has to have the power of the whole hand. So when we are trained to make sure that each finger has that much strength, like as if you're putting a whole hand behind a stroke. So you can play as loud as you want or as soft as you want. So that, plus it's a muscular tradition. So that means using it like as if you're playing a piano. And fingers have interaction and so it develops that way. So you should turn this off. Just have this on. So you don't have to go like this, like on a djembe or a conga or something, but just the fingers will give you enough. Sorry. Just because you could take photos. Lots of tones. First, one finger. So there are many tones that you can work with and textures available. Here, this is because the stand is on the riser, so when I hit, this sound will come. So don't worry about it. That's why I always ask to put my microphone off the riser. So this has an open tone. It's not tuned. This is tuned with Maxwell's silver hammer. This is not tuned, but so you've got that.
So, tabla repertoire. Tabla repertoire is coming through slowly. There are compositions that are fixed. Most of the repertoire is improvised, but there are some fixed elements. And these are compositions composed and handed down. And they are inspiration as you see in the world walking around. So I'll say something and then play. This is a small composition, but just the scenario comes from when you are a court musician, you do everything that the Maharaja or the king asks you to do. So the court musicians go on a hunting trip with the Maharaja. And in the night when the Maharaja is tired and is sitting down for dinner, the musicians will play music and entertain and all that will happen. So the Maharaja says to the maestro, "Maestro, today I was in the jungle and I saw a deer walking around looking for food. But then one of my soldiers startled the deer and the deer ran away. But I noticed that the deer had an incredible gait. When it runs, it almost flies when it runs. You know, distance, there's an interesting movement to it. You should try to create that in your rhythms. Now, the tabla, court tabla player has to do that or else. And if he does that, much gifts will come. So he creates a scenario, and then the gait, the rhythm of the running of the deer. So here we go. It's a deer looking for food. Seen the hunter. Right? So that's the running gait. So not only you have to show the jump of the run, but also in the hand, the gesture must show that. Lots of gold coins. Remember, keyword, gold coins. Similarly, one of the Nawabs bought a second-hand used cannon from the second-hand used arsenal shop. So the Nawab fired it and the big sound happened, and he told his drummer who used to sit on the top of the fort with the big drum, "Why don't you make a sound like this? It's so beautiful, so big." So now the drummer composed a composition to describe how big the cannon was and what it needed, and then finally the sound. Was the round ears and a very big nozzle. Ta bride, court musicians, all the important people. And he told the rhythm player, look, there's a great rhythm in this string. You should create a rhythm pattern like this on your instrument. So a tabla player took a pattern, created similar sounds, and showed the Nawab and got away with it. So first the rhythm, then the sounds of how the coaches go rhythm-wise, and then the sound of the rhythm of the steam engine, and maybe even the whistle. Now this was the speed in those days, maximum 12 miles per hour.